Hi, welcome to Mindful Mondays with Carrie. If you are liking what I'm putting out here, please subscribe and go ahead and share these episodes with anybody you think might enjoy it. Also, please write to me at Willow Holistic Center for your chance to win a 45-minute somatic reparenting coaching session, where of course I'll be folding in lots of self-compassion into that as well. You can find the address to Willow Holistic Center, my private practice, in the description of this episode. So go ahead and write in for your chance to win. I'll be drawing one of those letters at the end of this series, which I think after today there's going to be at least 3 more episodes on this series. Possibly more. I am trusting the process and seeing where it takes us. Also, for a deeper dive, feel free to go to my website at willowholisticcenter.com, where you can also catch a blog to go with this episode. And if you ever want help along your journey, if you're looking for a therapist or a coach, you can also schedule a consultation with me on that website, willowholisticcenter.com. All right, so getting right into it. Today, we're talking about the third component of self-compassion, which is that of mindfulness. All right, so I don't know about you, but I have certainly had moments, many moments in my life where I was longing for support. There was this yearning, or sometimes even like a desperation, looking for somebody to support me, to see me, to validate what was going on for me. And it wasn't until I discovered self-compassion, and parts work and Gestalt, that I really realized that that longing is really a deeper need to reconnect with my true self, with me. There is a part of me that needs to be seen, and nobody's going to be able to do it the way that I can do it for myself. Okay. Also, we can tend to vacillate between these two kind of parts of ourselves, right? There's more of a rigid, outcome-driven part that wants to protect us and guard us from pain, okay? And that is the mind-focused part. And then there is the heart, okay, which is more of a fluid, open, heart-centered true self. So most of us, if you're anything like me, grew up learning defense mechanisms, right? It makes sense that we would want to run away from pain. Pain hurts. We don't want that, so we learn to run away from it. And the mind creates these defensive, like anger and judgment, even depression, to protect us, okay? And that is where the suffering lives. Suffering comes not from the reality. I mean, there is reality of discomfort in our world, but really the suffering is when we're out of alignment with our hearts, okay? When we want something other than reality. When we're looking for the ideal to be the reality as opposed to the reality to be the reality, rather than accepting what is, okay? So mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and our emotions without judgment. And this can help us to have clarity as well as distance from the reactive patterns. Sometimes the emotions, the thoughts feel like they're true, but just because we think it doesn't mean it's true. And sometimes we can actually over-identify with our emotions. I think it was in the reparenting series, I talked about whooshing. Sometimes these parts whoosh us. These emotions get so loud and so strong that we blend with it and we don't know the difference. between reality and the story we're making up, which is fueled by this this protection, this guard, and our mind, and just we get flooded. So when we're mindful and we're able to observe our thoughts and our emotions without judgment, not as easy as it sounds all the time, and it's a practice. When we're able to observe, when we're able to notice what is happening, it gives us some distance. If I am witnessing and observing these thoughts happening and these emotions happening, if I'm witnessing and observing the pain, it creates a bit of a distance rather than getting blended up and not knowing the difference between what is true and what is the story I'm making up about what's happening. I hope this is making sense. Yeah. So rather than running away from pain with judgment or different ways that we push away, I know I talked about resistance to contact in a particular episode early on as well. We kind of create these resistances and these ways to protect ourselves from the pain. But by turning towards our pain with self-compassion, that is where we allow space for healing, for acceptance, for that compassion that we need to move through and to find the healing that we're all wanting for ourselves. And not getting lost in the need to fix it, okay? Feelings are meant to be felt, not fixed, okay? We need to be able to feel in order to heal. And again, it's essential to be able to feel our emotions without being consumed by them. And to be able to have mindfulness and some distance, we can respond intentionally rather than reactively, which is when those parts whoosh us, then we're more of a reflexive, habitual way of reacting. And then oftentimes when that's the case, afterwards we might feel embarrassed or have to go clean up something because we don't like the way that we did it. So by creating that pause, okay, is so powerful to give ourselves that moment where we can be mindful, like, oh, this is really hurting. I'm really feeling it right now. And to be able to, even if it's a breath or a pause, to offer ourselves some kindness, some compassion, some understanding before we just impulsively and reactively move forward. And that's where we find the true inner support with self-compassion. Mindfulness and self-compassion together help us find that inner support that we've been longing for. And it can help to guide us back to our true selves, okay? And again, I want to go back to reparenting. It's, these parts are getting our attention with our emotions. And it's our opportunity to slow down and turn inward to ourselves, to listen to our hearts rather than run away from them because it's painful and uncomfortable. And the more we practice this, the more ease and the more natural it will feel. This is our innate instinct we were born with. And then we get just layers and layers that we create distance from it based on your own personal history and the messages that you have internalized and got from, whether it would be parents who learned it from their parents and their parents and their parents, because let's face it, there wasn't a lot of emotional intelligence back then, and certainly not a lot of parenting support. We're still learning. And yeah, again, our natural instinct to kind of push away from the pain as well, okay? So, mindfulness, taking a pause and noticing what is it that I'm thinking, right? We can become that witness and that observer of our thoughts, of our body, of our life energy, of our environment, right? What are we noticing? What are we observing? And by doing that, by bringing mindfulness to the moment, we're creating some distance. I often talk to my clients too about, when we're whooshed and we're caught up in this strong emotion, it's like we're in it, as though we're acting in a scene on stage, right? We're in it, we can feel it, we're there. By becoming a mindful observer or witness, it's like we've separated and now we're watching the screen, but we're in the audience watching it unfold. Okay, so we can maybe still feel it, but we're not in it, right? And then we can step back, we can get into that projector room. I don't know if that's what it's called, but where the movie's getting projected onto the screen, right? So it's even further back, more of a distance. Another analogy is, laying down and watching the clouds pass, right? And those can be our thoughts and our feelings. But the sky is always there, even if you can't see it. Or if you prefer a different analogy, you can also think of trains, right? Coming and going from the train depot. We don't have to get on the train and ride it to town with all these stories and the thoughts that we're thinking of how we've been wronged or how I'm horrible or whatever the case might be. And if you find that I'm on this train and I've been on it for a while and I want to get off, you can get off of that train and then just watch it go by. We don't have to attach ourselves to it. Another analogy is tides. Pick an analogy. There's so many of them. Once you can witness it too, it's like they come and they go, and they come and they go, and they come and they go, and they come and they go. And I am constant. And I can watch them come and go. And by doing that more and more mindfully, with more and more self-kindness, acceptance, and understanding of the common humanity with all of it. We all have the tides that come and go and come and go. I can feel more confident and empowered that my feelings don't define me and that it will pass, which can be very comforting. Yeah, I'll stop there. Again, if you want a deeper dive, you can also check out the blog. I feel like I was a little scattered today, so the blog will be more. I'm smiling because I've noticed that I'm judging myself for feeling less, what's the word? Streamlined. I feel like I was a little bit scattered today. And I'm noticing the judgment, right? And I'm being mindful of that. So rather than swept away in a self-critical judge, which I've spoken to you, that I can certainly get into that space and can be quite cruel. But noticing it, right? And noticing that we're not all, that it's common experience to feel like perhaps I wasn't as articulate as I wanted to be, or getting my thoughts across as clearly and as smoothly as I would like. And I'm offering myself kindness and compassion all at the same time. So here you go, live in action, practicing what I preach. So your teachable takeaway for this week is the self-compassion journal practice that I learned from Kristen Neff, a pioneer in self-compassion. So at the end of each day, do this for a week or more. It can really help process, bring some clarity, and just really anchor in this self-compassion practice so that you can do it with ease in real time, like I just did. So at the end of the day, I think it's helpful for me at the end of the day. If the beginning of the day works, then think about the previous day. But think about the last 24 hours and just choose a moment that perhaps you've experienced some pain or discomfort or didn't like the way something went, okay? And go through the 3 components of self-compassion, okay? So mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. And use these to process the event. So you can do this in the written journal, or I know I've mentioned before, like an audio journal, like the audio, I don't know, an app came in my phone. I don't know what it's called, but that voice memo one, maybe that's what it's called. Okay, so the mindfulness. First, begin by acknowledging the painful emotions. What were you experiencing during this situation that you chose? And again, there's no right or wrong, just choose something, okay? And write about what you felt, making an effort to approach the experience with acceptance and without judgment, okay? And then common humanity. Reflect on how your experience connects to the broader, wider human experience, the human condition. Recognize that others have likely faced similar feelings or situations, and remind yourself that you are not alone, okay? You're not alone in this, I guarantee it. Whatever you are feeling or experiencing, there's somebody on this planet who has felt or experienced something similar, okay? And then self-kindness. Offer yourself words of kindness and comfort. Write with gentle reassurance to yourself, as if you're comforting a dear friend who's gone through a similar experience. And that can actually be a helpful tool. If it's really a challenge for you to be kind to yourself, what would you say to another person, a dear friend or a child, okay? And write that to yourself. It can also be really interesting, I still find this fascinating, to read it to yourself, looking in a mirror, hearing it read out loud, and really making eye contact with yourself, especially that self-kindness part. I encourage you to try it, see how it feels. It lands in a different way. I think for me, it's like it opens my heart wider, and I can feel it more than thinking it. It just gets into that heart space. So try that if you're so bold to do so. I know it can be challenging. A lot of people I work with, when I suggest a mirror, there can often be a resistance to that. So if you feel up for that, try it out. And if not, perhaps down the road you will, but certainly try out the self-compassion journaling practice for the next week. And I will be back next week. I believe I'm going to do another practice. So I know there were at least 2 practices, and giving you another one. So in these moments where you are feeling difficult emotions, please feel free to go back to any of the practices that you might resonate with, to give yourself that pause, the power of the pause, and in offering yourself some compassion, okay? So thank you for joining me this week on Mindful Mondays, and I hope you have a mindful week.